Hello, Giants fans, and welcome to a new edition of the Valentine's Views podcast here on YouTube. The 0-3 Giants have a lot of things swirling around them. The possibility that Jackson Dart will become quarterback uh, in Week 4 against the Los Angeles Chargers, and whatever other changes are coming down the pike as the Giants try to turn around another season that has started badly. And here to help me break down all things Giants is former Giant, longtime NFL player Jonathan Casillas. JC, thank you so much for a few minutes.
Thank you for having me, Ed. Pleasure.
So, real quick, you're doing some work for Giants.com these days. What are you doing? What are you doing with the team?
I'm part of the broadcast team, media team. I was doing radio. Now I'm doing more of the digital side. So I just got done doing the hangouts with the Giants, with Russ, Madeline Burke, and Matt Sytak. And then I got a weekly spot on BBKL, Big Blue Kickoff Live, and I do that with John Schmelk, sometimes Paul Dottino as well. And I'm a legend and a brand ambassador, so I do a lot of work for them game day. I do a lot of work for them throughout the week with some fantasy football stuff. So I do a lot of work for all the different departments in for the New York Giants for sure.
You ever get a word in with Dottino?
Oh, I do. I don't know if you know, Ed, but I used to see you all the time in the press box. But me and Paul watched every game together for the last 3 years, every
Wow.
home game that is. So
Yeah.
yeah, we
Yeah.
definitely have some
Yeah.
back and forth. And
So,
Paul is a great historian, Ed. He's one of the
mhm.
best. His memory. He'd be like, JC, it was 1986. I'm like, Paul, that was a year before I was born. And he'll name like the 5 offensive linemen that was starting. That
Mhm.
blows my mind that
Yeah.
someone could do that. But shout out Paul
Yeah.
Patino.
Yeah. He's one of a kind.
Yeah.
Anyway, these New York Giants seem to be one of a kind too, and that kind over the last few years has just not been good. Um 0-3 start, and we'll get into Jackson Dart and Russell Wilson quite a bit, but just what are your generic thoughts on this football team? I mean, I think we all thought, 0-3, even 0-4 was possible, but I'm not sure that we thought in some respects that it would look like this, that it would look like it has. Just your thoughts on what you've seen the first 3 weeks.
Well, I think week 2 was just a mistake laden, game where, I mean, that first drive, how many penalties they had. Of course, people want to come down on Hudson, but other guys committed penalties too. There was like 21 called penalties on the Giants
Mhm.
that game, and and that shows an undisciplined team. So I think you're seeing an undisciplined team, a team that you know has failed multiple times of making the plays that is given to them. Whether it's
Mhm.
drop passes, dropped interceptions. Last week, Bobby Okereke picked up a fumble that Mahomes created, but Mahomes literally took the ball from him. Like that was a huge change in the game, Ed, right
Yeah.
there, where the Giants were basically knocking on, the end zone, close to scoring a touchdown if they would have, got possession of that ball. But again, they failed to do so, failed to take the ball away for another time this season. And if they don't correct that, if they continue to play undisciplined, if they continue to not take the ball away, I think Russell Wilson, he threw 2 interceptions last week, but I don't think he's been mistake prone like last week. I didn't like what I saw, those couple of passes that he threw the interceptions. But before that, I didn't see him as the guy that was turning the ball over. Hopefully that doesn't continue. But they have to take the ball away, Ed, on defense. This year coming in, yes, we talk about the preseason and all that, which I don't use, but how they built the defensive roster. You would think that this defense would cause multiple turnovers a game, 4, 5, 6 sacks every single game. And that's just not been the case. And if they can't do that this year, this team will continue to struggle. I didn't expect the offense to look great this year. I expected them to kind of look competent, which they have at times, especially against Dallas. but I felt like the defense was the side of the ball that was really going to manufacture some of these wins and create some of these plays that will enable the offense to be on the field a little bit more, have more shots, have more opportunities, and score more points.
Yeah, you and I think, see that or saw that the same way coming into the season. And one of the things I wanted to to you about is some of these opportunities and some of this lack of discipline. Now, you had a fairly long, successful NFL career. You played on really good teams in New Orleans. You played on bad teams in Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
You played on a Super Bowl winning team in New England, and you played on both good and bad teams in your 3 years with the Giants. It's not always because one team has, because one year you have good players and one year you have lousy players. I mean, it's the difference in some of these games is so slim. I mean, in your mind, when you look at a team like the Giants and we talked about undisciplined penalties last year and the year before.
Yeah.
And we talked about failure to take advantage of opportunities, 1 of 10 in the red zone, continually dropping or missing opportunities to make plays, to make game-changing plays defensively. Paulson Adebo, who's got a ton of interceptions in his career, dropping one the other day. The Bobby Okereke play, which, he would have been teased unmercifully about that in the locker room had they won the game. I don't even want to ask him about that in the locker room since they lost the game. I don't even want to ask him. But what is the difference, what's the difference between teams that capitalize on its opportunities and teams that, like the Giants seem to be, don't capitalize on their opportunities? What is it, if you can put your finger on it?
Yeah, I wish I could give you a great explanation on why those things happen with certain teams, but I'm with you in the term in the same breath as the teams that make those plays are the teams that win. Every team I've ever been on in September before the first game, I always think we have a chance. No matter what happened the year before, whether it was coming off the Super Bowl, my second year in the league after New Orleans, or being at the bottom of the pack in Tampa Bay, my second year in Tampa Bay, I still thought like, we have a shot at making a run because of the roster, because of the camaraderie, and then that year, in 2014, I think we went 0-7 in Tampa to start the season, so like it quickly dissipates when you're 2 months in without a win. And I hope this is not the case for the Giants. And everybody understood the schedule that the Giants are facing this year, the number one toughest schedule. And it's not getting any easier anytime soon. Of course, they got the Saints the week after the Chargers, but then you run a 3-week period of where you have the Eagles twice and then Denver in between. So it's not getting any easier. The Giants have to get the plays that come to them, right? It's hard to win. The thing is, the Giants were in all of these games, Ed. Like
Right.
even the first game, week 1, the Commanders, they were the mistake-ridden team.
Right.
They were the team that had all the drops that week, and the Giants let them off the hook, right?
Right.
And then the Cowboys, the Giants defensively, they didn't end the game well in terms of regulation, but then they got stops in overtime, and the offense didn't capitalize, even though the offense was spectacular all day. And then
Right.
that play with Bobby Okereke, like you said, it sucks because I know Bobby. I spoke to Bobby. He's a very prideful person. He probably put the game on himself because that's what guys do. Is like that play, because you understand how big of a play that is, and then Dexter, all that. What I do like, Ed, I do like the accountability, especially from the defensive guys. I think they're kind of underwhelmed, not only from outside, but I think they're underwhelmed with themselves, and I think they want to go ahead and make a statement. The Chargers, they don't look great on film, Ed. They really don't. They don't look great on film, but they have a guy like last week in Patrick Mahomes who's willing to do anything, and he can do anything. He can do it with his legs. He can make all the throws. He's patient. Sometimes he throws inaccurate. That's kind of Mahomes, right?
Hmm. Yep.
He this week though, a lot better targets this week. A lot better targets this week. Johnston, Allen, and then Lab McConkey. Like these guys can play some football. And that rookie running back, he'll get these guys going with Najee Harris being out. The Giants will have a tall task to ask. But this is my thing, Ed. The defense, y'all are capable of going against, I think, any offense in the NFL. Go ahead and hit them in the mouth. The Giants have to prioritize stopping the run, especially against this team. This quarterback, yes, he can do great things, but this head coach, they want to be able to run the football. They want to be able to be a physical presence whenever they step on the field. And the Giants, I think, have the answer to it. They just go out there and do it, Ed.
Is it, I mean, it really, there's two questions. The first one, is about some of the missed opportunities. Does it, when things aren't going well, when you're not taking advantage of those things, you've been losing games, does it get in your head to the point where you put pressure on yourself to make that play, which, when you're thinking about it and putting pressure on yourself, that makes it harder. But does it kind of get in your head when you haven't made those plays?
Yeah, it definitely does, especially when you're going winless. I'm talking about
Mhm.
multiple games without winning. And you felt like you could have made a play or two here or there that could have helped you get one or two of those games. Yes, that definitely eats at you, but you can't press. You can't
Mhm.
press. You can't do anything outside of what you should be doing. Of course, I like to say give an extra effort, but that doesn't mean vacate your responsibility and trying to do somebody else's job. Do your job. And that was the whole Bill Belichick thing throughout the whole Patriot way, right? Do your job. I need the Giants, especially defensively, to not only do their job, but they need to do their job plus, right? I'm gonna give you an example of what I'm talking about, Ed. Basic run plays in the NFL, especially these zone concepts, right? A lot of these plays, they're all built to go basically like start one way and bend back. You know who they're bending back to? It's usually an unblocked defensive back, whether it's a corner or a safety. Ed, I'm sorry. I play linebacker in the NFL. I do not expect, especially my corners, to make one-on-one tackles with running backs in the open field. So what does that mean? That means I have to do a better job in not only getting to my gap, but shedding a block and getting and helping a corner, right? Think about this, right? And I'm gonna use him for an example because I think he's phenomenal, just like I know you do. Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley one-on-one with the cornerback. Who do you think is going to win that 90% of the time? It's
We
going to be
know who's going to win
Saquon.
that. Yep.
It's going to be Saquon. So for me, I don't look at the corner like you got to make that tackle. You make the damn tackle.
Right.
Like it's so hard to do that. That's why you have to have the extra effort. It has to be the violent shed off of a block. It has to be a safety coming in with a crack block, running through a receiver's face to go ahead and help your corner, go ahead and help your linebackers, go ahead and help Dexter Lawrence, who gets doubled 80% of the time. The guys have to do a better job in doing their job plus, not somebody else's job, but their job plus, straining to not only do your job, but do your job and more. I've seen that with defenses that I've been a part of. I've seen that with defenses that are, good over the years, like the Chiefs defense. The Chiefs defense statistically is not great, but what they did the last couple of weeks, the Eagles, they built the wall for Saquon. They were all on the same level. They were getting penetration. That's doing your job plus. They were ripping off of blocks. That's what the Giants need. They don't need people doing somebody else's job. They need people doing their job plus. They need people straining. And once you can get that effort, I think you'll see a lot better results defensively and offensively.
The hard part is you ask why isn't it there already? Or, is it just and I mean that's what you wonder about is okay, why isn't it already there?
Can you see the cat?
Yes, I can see the cat.
It's my
That's all right.
girlfriend's cat.
Oh, hey. Well, cat wants to be a YouTube star. That's all good. I
Away
got
from the
two
keyboard.
I got two cats back here behind me somewhere, so it's all good.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
all right, buddy. Go ahead, Ed. I'm sorry.
No, I was just curious, why isn't that, guys know that. They know that. You know, you're not the only one, they're playing the game now. They know that. Um, so obviously by bringing it up, you're saying you're not seeing it. So
Yeah.
the question is why? Is that because they don't believe in the defensive coordinator? Is that because maybe they don't believe in the head coach? They're not completely bought in. Um, they're not fully trusting of each other yet. I don't know. Is there a reason you can put your finger on?
I wish I really had an answer for it because I would call Bobby Okereke and be like, "Hey, bro, you guys need to do this," but I really don't know. I really don't know it. And I'm not questioning effort here from the defense.
Mm-hmm.
Like you watch the way Brian Burns plays football. Holy
Absolutely.
smokes! But the
Yes.
thing is, everybody doesn't play like that. And if they do, take Drew Phillips. We see how Drew Phillips plays. Drew Phillips gets a lot of penalties. Drew Phillips is out of position a lot, but he's also young. I think you have a combination of new players that are, I think, skilled, Holland and Adebo, coming into this defense, right? Uh, uh, um, Carter as well, right? These are all, I think, really skilled guys on defense. But sometimes when you're trying to, like, when you have to think, right? When you get a new defense, when you get anything new, right? Anything, it takes a while for you to figure out all the nuances and stuff. So I think it's a combination of, young guys playing football, right? Tyler Newman,
Mhm.
Drew Phillips, guys that are out there that are really young that are gonna make mistakes. Because I'm sorry, when you're playing, I don't care how good you are as a rookie, you're going to make mistakes, right? That's what rookies are known for. And then you got some new pieces as well. This is still only what? How many games? 20 games into this, Shane Bowen coach defense. I know that seems like a lot, but let me tell you, Ed, the defense I've been a part of, I played for Spags for 4 years, right? 1 year in New Orleans, my first year in New York, those 2 years, right? We were the worst defense in the league with under Spagnolo. Now, the next 2 years, 2016, with Spags, we were the top two defense in the league. Sometimes it takes a while to get acclimated. It's a lot of nuances. And if you think about it, Ed, they don't have a lot of reps that are being put out there throughout OTAs and training camp. I still see this as like kind of like the end of the preseason. Now it's like the season is truly starting because they haven't gotten live reps until week one. So I
Mhm.
think there's a little bit of a learning curve. I think there's a little bit of a practice restriction that kind of not allow you or restrict you from actually learning the ins and outs and the nuances and all the details that pop up when in games. So I think they're still learning. When you're learning and you're not like you don't have it like on the back of your hand, it slows you down a little bit. I think that's what we're seeing. You see it when they make adjustments to motion. Sometimes they're a little late getting lined up. What is that? That's people being a little bit unsure about what exactly they have in front of them. I think once you see the familiarity kick in and guys are like locked in mentally, then I think you will see the extra effort unfold.
Hopefully that comes before it's far too late for this season to turn out at least decently for the Giants. Before we switch over to offense, before we start talking about Jackson Dart, Russell Wilson, all of that, I want to ask you a Dexter Lawrence question. We know how great Dex is. We know what Dex is capable of. Through 3 games, I don't think we've seen, we've seen him be impactful because he's a monstrous human being who takes 2 or 3 guys to deal with him. But we haven't seen the Dexter Lawrence that we've seen in the past. Um, is there, in your mind, is that about what's around him? Is that, is there something you're seeing that's just holding him back just a little bit at this point?
No, I mean, not really. What I'm seeing on film, when I've watched the last 3 games that the Giants have played, well, the first 3 games, it is the last 3 games. The three
Mhm.
games the Giants have played this year, I'm watching 4 hands on him almost every play that he's in, right? But this is the thing, and I agree with you. He has been on the field, he's been out there. I think he has been impactful, but he hasn't been dominant, right?
Mhm.
He's
Right,
demanding a double team, right? So that's
right.
being impactful. but he hasn't been dominant, right? He's a guy that I've seen throw guys out the way with four hands on him, right?
Hmm.
And look, I'm not saying this is the cause of it. I heard he was a little big showing up to camp this year. I heard he was a little bit on the heavier side, than he has been in the past. That could have something to do with it. Like I said, this is pretty much, I guess the first two games were like preseason. Last week against the Chiefs was like the first game given like the reps that I talked about earlier. But I do expect Dexter Lawrence to be the dominant force that he is. I just feel like maybe he has to get his feet underneath him a little bit more. And I know that's crazy because he's been in the league for as long as he has been, but it happens sometimes. Sometimes some years you start out a little slow, and as the season progressed. Last year, if you remember, he started the season fast. He had
Hmm.
9 sacks within like the first 8 weeks of the season, right? It
Right.
may be in reverse this year. It may be he's a guy that, hits, mid-season form around mid-season, right?
Right.
It might be like that for him. But when I look at him on film, he looks like the same Dexter. He doesn't look like a different person. I just think he doesn't have the opportunities and he hasn't been dominant, right?
Right.
I expect him to be so, just like you do, just like everybody else does, because we've seen him do it. It's not
Right.
like we're asking him to do something that he can't do, because he can do it. He can split a double team and have a sack. He can split a double team and create a tackle for loss, because we've seen it happen. We just really haven't seen it this year. But what I have seen, Brian Burns, oh my
Hmm.
gosh, the way he's playing football. And I know he dinged up his knee. I hope that doesn't slow him down. But good Lord, he is playing lights out. Last year, we saw a small sample size of what he was capable of, but he was like hurt the whole year.
Hmm.
This year, holy smokes, this dude is unbelievable.
Right.
Unbelievable. Like the way he plays, he's unblockable almost, right? And
Hmm.
then they play him off the ball sometimes, Ed, and I'm like, why are they doing that? And then I think it was against the Cowboys where he had like a big hit on the sideline. I said, okay, I understand why you're playing him off the ball now. The guy just has a great sense of how to be a great football player, whether it's
Hmm.
on the ball, off the ball, in the middle of the line, outside,
Hmm.
three technique, one technique, 6'9", whatever it is. The guy is a tremendous football. I think he's playing the best football out of any New York Giant, the most consistent guy through 3 games.
Yeah, I have so much respect for Burns because it doesn't matter. One leg, one arm, doesn't
Yeah.
matter where you put him. It doesn't matter. He just goes and makes plays. I have so much respect for the guy. So, JC, we need to change topics. We need to talk about the other side of the ball, which means, let's just start right in with the quarterback situation. And I hate being here, already 4 weeks into the season. We know that this is eventually going to be Jackson Dart's team. When we talked to Brian Daboll on Monday, he opened the door to making a quarterback change this week. Um, and we know when head coaches open that door, we know where that usually goes.
Yep.
Um, just where do you stand on Jackson Dart, on what would be good for Jackson Dart, and whether it would be the right thing for this football team, for Jackson Dart to take over at quarterback at this point? I before you answer, I do want to say this. I am a person who has said consistently that the longer the Giants could wait for Jackson Dart to play, the better off they would be. Um, for one reason, I think it would be better for Dart's learning, for his progression, for all of that. The other reason for that would mean that Russ was playing fairly well and the Giants were winning enough games to continue to be competitive. But here we are, 0-3, not making the playoffs almost certainly. Um, so so if so would you support a switch to Dart at this point? Would that be the right thing to do?
Um, I don't know. Hindsight is always 2020. We haven't done it yet, so I can't really say it, yes, that'd be a good move, because I saw what Russell did in week 2. Yes, the Cowboys defense is not the same as the Chiefs defense or the Commanders defense, But at the same time, we've seen it. Russ is not washed. People's like, oh, Russ is washed. I don't think he's washed. They have to do a better job in executing. That's not just the quarterback. That's everyone. I think Andrew Thomas being back, that was a great sign, seeing him out there. I don't know his health going into this week. I know they had him on the pitch count. Bo played a lot at that left tackle position. But that's huge, having a healthy Andrew Thomas protecting him. Does Jackson Dart give the Giants a better opportunity and chances to win? I don't know the answer to that question, but I think he brings something different than Russell Wilson does. But it doesn't answer the question, Ed, of why the defense can't take the ball away, right? Why the defense can't create their own takeaways, why the defense can't stop the run, right? Yes, they did a better job against the Chiefs, but the Chiefs can't run the football, Ed. They haven't run the football at all against anyone. So I don't want to hear that they did a better job. They didn't. Pacheco averaged 6 yards a carry, right? That's not good. Your main running back averaging 6 yards. That's good for the Chiefs, not for the Giants. So the Giants, for me, they have to improve in other areas before I say this young rookie quarterback is going to be able to win games for the Giants. When Russell Wilson hasn't been the guy to lose all 3 of the games for the Giants. It's been other people that's involved. It's been, not making smart decisions. It's not been converting in the red zone. It's not been converting. They were 1 of 11? 1 of 10 on third down last week, Ed. They were 1 of 4 on fourth down. Like, what do you know what I mean? Like, it's not just Russell. It's other things that are involved. So what I don't want to see is him they throw Jackson Dart out there and he's running for his life. And guys are not catching the balls. He's not being protected. Their run game is not working. All of the things that almost is out of Jackson Dart's control, right? They have to be a better team first. The Giants aren't, for me to say, all right, Jackson Dart would give them wins, I don't see it from the rest of the team to where I'm confident to say this young, talented kid, because I think he is talented. I think everybody thinks he's talented, but it's not going to take one guy to go ahead and get you over this hump of winning games. The Giants have been at the bottom of the NFL, Ed, since they lost to the Eagles in the playoff 3 years ago. They've been at the bottom. The bottom. It's not just the quarterback. It's a whole bunch of other things, and the Giants have to show some progress in that regard. This is a good Chargers team. This Chargers team is a very physically minded team, coached by a championship coach. This is going to be a great test for the Giants. They have to show us something. They have to show us that they can create takeaways from a guy who doesn't throw a lot of interceptions. They have to show us that they can score in the red zone like every team in the NFL does. They have to be able to figure that stuff out before I get my hopes up and saying, oh, Jackson Dart can save us. We got to see everything else first, Ed.
On the offensive side of the ball, JC, if I said to you that I don't think it's talent, okay? I don't think it's talent. Wan'Dale Robinson's a really good player. Darius Slayton's a really good player. Malik Neighbors is fantastic. I can't believe they couldn't get a pass to him in the first half the other night, even a bubble screen of some sort, or run
and before we finish, Ed, before you move on from that, this is my thing with that, right? Every coordinator, every offensive system that gets put out there for all teams, they all have a first 15, right? If I'm self-scouting myself and we just lit the Dallas Cowboys defense up and I know how Spagnuolo is, I would prepare myself for 2 different game plans, right? One, if Spags blitz us every play, right? That's one I'll be preparing for. 2, what if they try to take Malik Neighbors away? And that's what they did. Started to take Malik Neighbors away. So what would I do? Okay, I'm not going to give him the ball down the field. I'm going to give him the ball in the backfield. I'm going to give him the ball on the screen. I'm going to give him the ball in the reverse. That way I can get the ball to our best player, even though they're doing their best to take him away.
You give it
around on motions, right?
You give it to him in ways that they can't defend until he has it in his hands. With the bubble screen, with the jet sweep, with the reverse, whatever.
So people were giving the the Eagles crap about not getting AJ Brown the ball until late in games, right? But they won those games. They won those games because they were able to do other things. The Giants need Malik Neighbors to catch the football. It's not the same situation as the Eagles. They need him to be explosive. They need him to have touches. He needs it. Personally, watching
Mm-hmm.
him play, he needs to be involved early so he can be the best player that he can be. Listen, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but that's what he is.
Mm-hmm.
He is that. For me, if he is as great as we all think he is, which I think he's amazing, get him the ball early. If they're doubling him down the field, then don't make him go down the field. Give it to him in the backfield. Give him a reverse. Give him a screen. There's so many ways to do it. And it just sucks that the Giants couldn't figure that out early enough. And his first was late in the third quarter? His first
Mm-hmm.
touch?
Mm-hmm.
Like that can't happen. Your best player has
Right.
to touch the ball before that.
Right. Absolutely. Offensively, the other thing has been, like you talked about third down, but it's been red zone. Um, it's been those sorts of things. I mean, for you, and again, we said it's not talent. Is it offensive line? Is it lack of execution? Is it something different on every play? And how much of that comes back to, I mean, and bottom line is it about players or is it about coaching? And I know that's a
It's
hard
both.
one. It's both.
No, it's both. You don't go 0-3 because of players. You don't go 0-3 because of coaches. You go on 0-3 because of it's a team collective effort, right? Dayball, I think it was week 1 after the game when Dayball said it's not Russell Wilson's fault that we lost. It is. It's also Dayball's fault. It's also Neighbor's fault. It's also Dexter Lawrence's fault. It's everyone's fault, Ed.
Mhm.
Everyone's at fault here, right? Everyone could have made a play that could have changed the game. That's the beautiful thing with football. You never know who's going to go out there and make that game-changing play. Jordan Davis for the Eagles, right? The Eagles were in Schitt's Creek that game. They
Yep.
had no chance. 2 special teams plays back to back for their defense, and one he ended up scoring a touchdown. Who knew that was even possible, right? But they
Right.
did it. Guys are
Mhm.
selling out, not just on defense and offense, but on special teams. That's something that the Giants haven't figured out. There's 3 different things that happen during the game. Offense takes the field, defense takes the field, and special teams. The Giants have not played complementary football. Defensively, they haven't been dominant. They haven't done it at all. Offensively, they show that they can put up points, but special teams, they have this up and down of special teams. There's no consistency. Let's get a healthy kicker in there, please. Like the Giants have to play complementary football, and we haven't seen that since we've been here. What, the Colts game last year? That's it. A
Mhm.
45-point output that no one expected and fans were mad
Right.
about because it messed up the draft status. But it's like let's put together complementary football. Your offense doesn't have to play well all week, neither will it play well all week. Same thing for the defense. Let's have special teams bail us out one of these games because offense and defense, didn't execute the way they were supposed to. You just don't see complementary football
It's
since 2022, bro.
it's so mystifying because I think it was Brian Burns who even talked about it Sunday night. He's like, every Sunday you come out, every week you come out and you have hope and you watch these games and you see Cleveland somehow find a way to beat Green Bay by scoring twice in the last 4 minutes of a game. You
Yep.
see teams you see teams win games, when they have no business winning certain games. You see teams make these wild plays like blocked field goals at the end of games that turn into touchdowns. And you shake your head because those things, like you said, since 2022, they don't happen for the New York Giants. And you shake your head, and I don't know if there's an answer I don't know if there's an answer if you say, well, why? I just don't. I don't know if you
I
have an
wish,
answer.
Ed, I wish I did. I
Mhm.
wish I had the answers because, like I said, I'll call Bobby and tell him. I'll call him and tell him. When I see Dayball on Thursday, I would just tell him at lunchtime.
Yep.
But no, I don't know, man. But the Giants got to dig deep, within themselves. I think every guy has to look in the mirror and see what more could I do for this organization. What could I do to help my team win? It definitely starts at practice, though, Ed. You know, for
Mhm.
me, I think you got to have good weeks of practice. You got to have good practice days. You know, the scout team got to be on point. You know, and then it doesn't always translate over, but you give yourself a best chance for that actually happening when you prepare the right way. So hopefully they can figure this thing out, man. It's rough. It's rough watching the Giants. You know, it's not like they're not competitive because they have been competitive. Every game has been competitive, but lack of execution, I think we've been seeing that pretty consistently, whether it's offense, defense, or special teams, and discipline. You know, these guys got to be more disciplined. They're extending drives. They're getting pushed back on offense because of these penalties, man. So I want to see a cleaner game with better execution, and they give themselves a chance against anybody, really.
All right, I think that's a good place for us to call it a day. JC, appreciate the time as always, and folks, make sure you check out JC's work and all the podcasts and video work that they do over on Giants.com as well. So appreciate the time, Giants fans. Thank you as always. Please stay safe out there. Take care of each other, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.